The initial innovation came from my own personal need for ventilation beneath my body armor. I was wearing body armor. I promised my mother I would never go on duty without my body armor vest. And she was not very happy that I was a police officer, and she would have rather seen me as a surgeon. And so I told her I would wear my body armor vest every single day, and I made that promise to her, and I wanted to keep my word to her. And I realized very quickly that body armor was hot, it was heavy, it was uncomfortable, it didn't breathe. And then I started breaking out in a rash on my chest and on my stomach and on my back. And I tried different things. A lot of officers I worked with were trying different things as well. Baby powder, changing our shirt mid shift, gold bond powder, you name it. However, none of this worked. So I started looking for a solution. I searched the internet and I searched around the world for a solution to take care of this concern that I was having with the sweat buildup, the heat buildup, the odor, itch, rash, and everything else. And there was nothing. I could find nothing. So I decided that I was going to create something of my own. And I started with some early prototypes that were shirts that would just separate my body armor vest from my body to create a little bit of space between my body armor vest and my undershirt, a little bit of separation so some air can get in and the heat and moisture could escape. And I realized using shirts like Under Armour and Nike Dry Fit did nothing under your body armor because the body armor was pressed right against those shirts. So they would wick the moisture through the shirt directly into the body armor. So the only thing that using those fancy, expensive shirts resulted in was moisture being wicked away at your body from your body at a higher rate directly into your body armor, and then you soak in your own sweat with sweat-soaked body armor all shift long. And that, of course, leads to odor, rash, bacteria buildup. So I realized I needed to create some kind of separation, and I needed to get some airflow in there. A material didn't exist at the time that could do this. So I traveled overseas, and I was able to develop a material working with a design factory that was what ultimately became the Maxx-Dri Vest. And it was a 3D material that didn't compress. It was antibacterial, antimicrobial, and it created a little bit of space and air gap between the body armor and the base layer shirt, and did exactly what was needed and what was required for breathability. And this not only helped in the summertime during the hot weather months, but also helped in the cold weather months in letting airflow go in and letting moisture escape, because the moisture in the cold weather is what makes you cold. So it's keeping you dry in the sun, help keeping you dry in the summertime and the wintertime, and ultimately safer and more comfortable. So the Maxx-Dri 5.0 is really the pinnacle of body armor, and it's also the culmination of 10 years of innovation and feedback from our customers. So we've had now a decade of getting comments on social media, emails, phone calls, meeting people at different trade shows, Police Week, and we take all this feedback and we put it right into the development of future models. So of course we started out with the original, and then we came out with the 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, and now 5.0. So it is really the best body armor ventilation product that's ever existed because of the feedback that we've gotten. So this is the pinnacle of it. You know, we are the pioneers of body armor ventilation. Literally didn't exist prior to me inventing the Maxx-Dri Vest. It wasn't even a category. And now we are taking all the feedback from customers and the end users and innovating and improving every single version. And we're always improving because we know that the customer, the end user, the police officers, the first responders, the soldiers that are out there wearing it across the world, they're the ones that are experiencing the small little things, and they come up with the ideas of, hey, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do this. So now with the Maxx-Dri Vest 5.0, we essentially have the vest that is the best fitting, most comfortable, most adjustable, and the highest degree of ventilation and comfort that we've ever had. So it really is the best version of the Maxx-Dri that's ever existed. Yes, we receive tons of emails every year, and countless messages on social media, and direct messages and comments. But one that sticks out in particular was a few years ago when a woman who had written in to say thank you, and her email was forwarded to me by our media team. And in the email, she said that she was a police wife. She had three small children, and that her husband was no longer able to wear his body armor on the job to work as a police officer because of the rash and the skin infections that he was experiencing as a result of wearing his body armor. So it got so bad that the only resolve for him was to not wear his body armor. And this was literally keeping her up at night because she was afraid that she was going to lose her husband. If there was an event at work and he was not wearing his vest, she was afraid that, she was going to lose her husband and her children were going to lose their father. And it was very troubling for her. And it was causing some tension and some angst between her and her husband. She discovered the Maxx-Dri Vest, and she purchased one for him. And for the first time in nearly a year, he was able to wear his body armor vest on duty, and the rash went away. All the skin infection and everything that he was experiencing went away. And he was finally coming home from work without his shirt soaked in sweat. There was no need for creams or powders or fancy shirts. He was just wearing a plain white cotton t-shirt. And she said his skin looked incredible and he was more comfortable than he's ever been. He'd been a police officer for quite some time, maybe 10 or 15 years or something like that. So when she wrote that in, and she literally said she was writing this note to us with tears of joy, because finally her husband was able to go to work, wear his vest, and she was at ease, at a little bit of peace for her husband and for the father of her children. And it was really a touching moment, because you just think about the police officers who are wearing it, and they're less hot, they're less sweaty, they're more comfortable, they're more focused on the bad guys and the bad situations in front of them. They're not thinking about how hot and uncomfortable and how miserable they're feeling. But this was a step further, thinking about the spouse and the people involved. You start thinking about spouse and children, and it was just something I hadn't really thought about. And so that really, that email we got really hit home.